During that first battle on Geonosis, the ones who survived were the ones who put their faith in their training, and they didn't panic. I saw one guy backed into a corner right, calmly take down 10 droids, armed nothing with a standard-issue pistol. He trusted his training, and he lived to fight another day. Sometimes the only way to fight off the insanity of war is to go a little bit insane yourself. During that mission on Mygeeto, one of my men happened upon an abandoned seeker droid. Most of us would have used the droid for target practice, but this goofball went and adopted the thing. Spent all his free time polishing the droid, teaching it to do tricks, feeding it energy scraps. Nuts? Sure, but it kept him occupied. We were always worried about the quiet guy, right? He never took off his helmet, never slept, never said more than 2 words to anyone. Naturally, we all figured he was about to snap. On day 43 of the Felucia campaign, with the enemy closing in from all sides, the quiet guy quietly dropped 15 droids before we could blink. Then he ran off into the mist. I never saw him again. Even with Yoda and the Wookiees, Kashyyyk almost became the slaughter we feared it would be. On the beach, the CIS sent wave after wave of AATs and spider droids against us, mowing through our infantry like they weren't even there. That's when the ARC troopers came through, punching holes through the heavy machinery with their rocket launchers. I even saw one guy take out 3 tanks on his own, hooking one of his shots around a tree. From that point on, he wanted to be called Tank Buster. We just called him Hookshot. Truthfully, there was always something about the engineers that rubbed me the wrong way. Still, there's no denying that some of the feats they pulled off bordered on the miraculous. In the middle of the ambush on Utapau, we lost track of one of our engineers while storming the main hangar. Before we even noticed he was missing, an AAT scattered us. While we tried to regroup, our missing engineer calmly walked up to the tank, pressed a few buttons, and boof! All the droids came tumbling out. To this day, I still don't know how he did that. This is going to sound bad, but one of the funniest moments of the war happened during the purging of the Jedi Temple. As the fighting ramped up, one of our guys panicked and accidentally activated his jump packs. Now, normally this guy would have been picked off in a matter of seconds, but somehow this lucky bum had managed to fly himself right into a hidden cache of shields. Why were they there? Who knows? But I still have to chuckle when I think of that klutz shouting, "Hey guys, there's a shield up here!" Our medics never got the credit they deserved. On Naboo, the Royal Guard had us outnumbered, wounded and pinned down at the palace gates. If it weren't for this one ice-veined medic who kept us going with ammo and medkits, we would have been massacred. On Mustafar, the heat made us sloppy. It almost got us killed. We were all so eager to push through the mission and get off the planet that we accidentally left an engineer behind in the CIS facility. By the time we'd realized our mistake, everyone assumed he was dead. But a few of us drew straws and circled back for him anyway. But when we found him, he was in the control room, knee-high in droid scrap. Turned out he'd fought off a droid counterattack all by himself, with nothing but a few auto turrets he'd cobbled together. We never left an engineer behind again. None of us were surprised when we saw that dark trooper flying off into the night. The confusing clone-on-clone battle on Kamino had already provided cover for more than a dozen defectors and cowards. So we just wrote the trooper off as another defector who'd finally found the nerve to flee. Imagine our surprise when he returned a few minutes later, raining grenades on the renegade's rear flank. One of the many embarrassments of the Death Star riot was the old saga of Stinky. Now, Stinky was a perfectly respectable trooper until the riot began. Somehow, in the middle of the fight, he managed to get blown into a waste disposal chute. Some of us thought about going after him, but we still had rioters to quell. And besides, those gears in the garbage compactor, they sounded nasty. Anyway, sometime later we were mopping up Stinky, as he would forever be called, who rejoined us, entertaining everyone in earshot with tales of his heroic escape from the Death Star's sanitation mechanisms. It wasn't our best day. One of the original clones and tough old grunt we called Boomer never went anywhere without his shotgun. He really got a chance to use it, but when he did, it was always something special, like that botched-up holodisc mission on Polis Massa. We charged into what we thought was a control room, only to be ambushed by a bunch of rebels in a room no bigger than Jawa's bathroom. While the rest of us tripped over ourselves trying to use our weapons in close quarters, Boomer whipped out his shotgun, gave out a war whoop, and laid waste to the whole room. Vader gave him a medal for that. Even after 20 years of fighting, you can still be surprised. When we tried to take the generator room off the Tantive 4, it looked like we've made a tactical mistake. The room was well defended, and the possibility of reaching the upper control room looked bleak. Suddenly, the trooper right next to me bolted upright and charged right through the engine's energy core. The sheer insanity of the maneuver caused everyone to stop shooting. Moments later, the ship's engine ground to a halt, and its electricity field dissipated. It got us through, but I can't help thinking that poor dummy sacrificed himself for a strategic advantage that lasted for less than an hour. Before the destruction of the Death Star, we used to give the new meat a pretty hard time. They hadn't been where we'd been, and we were sure their inexperience would get us killed someday, but once we got it to Yavin, those guys really proved themselves. There was this one scout, right out of training, who must have dropped dozens of rebels as they tried to rush the temple. Okay, maybe not dozens, but it sure seemed that way. I'll never forget the first time I saw a disruption sequencer. It was on Hoth, during the initial assault on the shield generator. We were working our way through the rebel subterranean bunkers, when we suddenly came upon an area that was conspicuously well defended, and a room that was sealed by an energy shield. We were curious, but our orders to take out the shield generator left us no time to investigate. We pressed on. Later we found ourselves surrounded by a rebel ambush, and prepared to go down fighting. Suddenly, a blinding light filled our eyes, followed by an explosion. The rebels were dead, killed by the brand-new disruption sequencer being cradled by our sniper. Apparently he'd hung back and stolen the weapon right out from under the rebellion's collective noses. It's a good thing he did, or who knows how Hoth might have turned out.